All right, Brian, I see the light, and we're recording, and we should Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator, Cincinnati Bengals. But I think I found you in upstate New York.
Yeah, I'm upstate New York here with in my in-laws' place with my family. We've been in our house for 70 some days in Cincinnati, and decided it was probably safe to kind of get out to the in-laws' place here in New York. And we live. They live in a place called Lake George, really pretty up lake in upstate New York, and have a house up here. So get the kids so they can play outside and be on the lake and kind of start their summer a little bit, being that it's going to be unique.
Yeah,
with
you have
no
room for
summer
one
programs
more.
or camps or anything like that. So
Exactly. Do you have room for one more? That sounds like a good place for me to be this summer.
There's plenty of room.
All right. No, I'm trying to think where to start. You know, it goes back 20 years to De La Salle, but I saw you 2 summers
Been that
ago.
long?
Yeah, it's amazing how long it's been. 2 summers ago in Napa, and it helped that I was standing next to Paul Garanya. Explain, everyone at De La Salle knows who he's a lifer. The relationship you have with Garanya.
Yeah, Paul and I have been friends since we were in high school, so it's been 20 years now. We're closing in on it if it's not there yet. But Paul was one of the guys at my wedding, and him and I have been really close, kind of ever since high school. And he's been a good friend of mine and someone that I really enjoy talking to and being around. He usually comes out over the years. He tends to make it to about one game a year that he can. We're a little bit further now than we used to be. So, but yeah, he used to get out probably 1 game a year, I would say.
Absolutely.
And then we try to see each other at some point in the off season if we can as well.
No, and that's the thing. Maybe I'll just bounce all over. You know, we'll talk about. I think about that summer with the Raiders, but right now, how unique has it been? Because as a coach, you don't get to see your kids that often. You know, so how special has the last 2 months been?
It's been great. It has its challenges of trying to get to, there's the separation of going to work and, they're not going to school. So there's a lot of work for my wife to keep them busy during the day. But the nice thing is as we meet all day on Zoom, I mean, I've become a professional on Zoom here at this point. So I get chances I come meet lunch with them. I eat dinner with them. I'm home every night reading them books before they go to bed. And so that's been nice. It's been a unique experience. We don't get to do that very often in this profession, and particularly in the off season, to be able to just be home and be present. And it's been really enjoyed that. We just got to spend some quality time with my kids.
Absolutely. It's all about Zoom. I'm trying to think, you're in charge of the offense. Have you met Joe Burrow in person, or it's always been on Zoom?
I've met him in person once. I was at the Combine, which is crazy to think about. Now we've seen each other's faces quite a bit, obviously over the last handful of months, 3 months or whatever it's been now. And so I feel like I've seen him, but I've actually seen him in the same room in person one time.
Exactly. That would have been in Indy.
Yeah, in Indy during our formal interview with him was the only time I've been in the same room with him since that time.
And then there's other things, but when you met him, what did you know that day he'd be your guy, or when did you guys know that?
No, we probably knew. Sorry, you might hear the kids screaming in the background.
That's how Zoom works. You know,
yeah.
you can bring them in.
Yeah. We did our due diligence on all those guys, him and Tua and Herbert, and even Jordan Love. We spent a lot of time researching, trying to figure out what it is that we wanted in our franchise quarterback. You're picking a number one. You're hoping you got a guy that's going to play for the next 15 years as the face of your franchise. And so, but the Combine was kind of just really the starting point. So we did not know.
It's it's frozen.
Who was
going? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the internet connection maybe I've had some spot in there. So I can go back. Where do you think?
Yeah, no, you're good. No, that's the thing. It's great to be at the lake, but maybe the internet. But yeah, go ahead. Just to continue, You're talking about Burrow.
Yeah, and so when his Combine interview was outstanding. We were really excited about that portion, and we just knew that we had quite a bit of time ahead of us that we had to kind of vet all of these prospects, because you want to make sure you get it right, and you want to make sure you do your due diligence on every possible avenue that you could take at that pick, because it's such a monumental pick, and it's one that I hope to never have to pick at again. You earn that right in the wrong way to pick at number one, but you do have a chance when you do pick there to really change your franchise. And so we wanted to make sure we got it right and spent a lot of time digging in on all the prospects that could be potential at that spot. And we obviously ended up settling on Joe. probably a handful of months, probably about, I don't know, let's say if the draft was April, I'd say probably early April, we felt pretty good about the decision at that point.
Right. So yeah, you guys didn't even have to be on the clock. You knew what was going on there. And I'm one of the few guys that know how you got that pick. I play fantasy football, and that game, that game against the Miami Dolphins, and
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd, he won the league for me because I have a college kid that helps me, and we knew to get Tyler Boyd. You know what's happened in that game. Well, you called the game. I mean, I want to thank you. And when you see Tyler, tell him there's a guy in California that wants to thank him. But it was a crazy game, a heartbreaking loss. But it was almost it was good. But that's how you got the pick. Tell people what we're talking about.
Yeah, it was a wild game, and us in Miami had kind of been wrong, not excitingly neck and neck for the top pick in the draft with our records, and it was it was a really pivotal game for two first-year coaching staffs going up against each other with trying to set their program standards and expectations. And, we kind of got jumped on early, and they had a pretty healthy lead going into the end of the game. And we ended up coming back. I think it was 16 points in 2 minutes, which is one of the, had we won that game, it would have been one of the more miraculous comebacks, probably in NFL history as far as just time left in the clock and how many points we ended up scoring. And, our guys fought, and we went into overtime, and overtime went all the way to the end of overtime, and Miami kicked the field goal at the end of regulation to win the game, and ultimately securing us the number one pick.
Exactly. And that's it. And I like what you said. You never want to have that pick again, and hopefully if Joe Burrow, that'll be the case. And then we're out here, you know exactly where we are. You grew up out here. Actually, you grew up all over. I mean, that's the life that you lived. We'll talk about De La Salle. But you got the running back from Antioch and Oakley, Joe Mixon. I mean,
absolutely.
Tell people. I mean, everyone knows, but he's good. He's your guy.
Yeah, Joe's fantastic. We're really excited about Joe, and he's performed. I've been with him for 1 year, and obviously all his years in the league, he's answered and performed, and I'm really excited about him and how he finished the season. And he's, he reminds me of a lot of guys I played with, just personality wise, and how he's kind of built. As a football player. And so it's been kind of fun. He just kind of reminds me of home, and home, the Bay Area for me is home. That's where I went to high school. That's where all my friends are. And, all the guys that I'm closest with are mostly in the Bay Area. And so that to me is, of all the places I've been, that's still the one I kind of consider home for that reason, just because that's where my most formative years were in high school. So a lot of people there still I talk to all the time and enjoy when I get to go back there. So to have Joe around and have a little bit of Bay Area flair is fun. It's fun to have him around.
We should do an ad for the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, because you've lived everywhere and you consider your home. That's great. Maybe that's where we go all the way back. As you saw, I've been talking with the Amigos, and so
sure.
Exactly. Just mentioning them makes you smile. What are some memories of that time at De La Salle?
Oh man, they're I enjoyed watching that. It was fun to see those guys interacting again. Johnny Tucker might be one of the funniest people I've ever been around. He actually gave me a nickname that stuck for a really long time. When I was a junior, and he was a senior. They started calling me Jack. It's a long story, but it stuck for a long, long time. And so a lot of guys still that went to high school with still, Maurice Jones-Drew still call me Jack every now and again. At that point in time in high school, that's what everybody called me by the time I graduated. So, Johnny and Nate and Deshaun, those guys, they're awesome people. I just kind of enjoyed listening to them talk to each other again. It's, all these years go by and it's like, it's the same guys, man, that if I was sitting in there talking to them, probably just the same. So, and they all got wonderful families and have had a lot of success with the avenues they've chosen to go down. So it's fun to see guys have success and guys you love and you're always pushing for and cheering for. So.
Absolutely. And we do that like every Tuesday, and I'll keep you in the loop, and you're busy. But I mean, that's what Johnny said. He says, not just amigos, any teammates. And so you could pop in there. I mean, and for me, it's just fun to see how happy they are to be together, and what about this other memories? Because that was a special time. It was about 2000, 2001. The games, I remember the game against Buchanan. I remember the San Leandro. I remember it all. I mean, oh, maybe I'm all over the place. Also talk about, I think you're close with Pinella. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach P. Yeah, Coach P was one of my early football mentors. Really helped me as a young high school kid. Just growing up. I mean, we used to go over to his house and watch film, and he was very, very instrumental to me as a young man. And then he was a really good quarterback coach, and he helped me quite a bit. And I felt like I got a lot better over the years I was there. And a lot of that is attributed to him and how he coached me and how he helped me develop. So those are good. Those are the guys that I still talk about all those guys to this day when I get interviewed by people in the press and they ask about De La Salle, because everybody still ultimately asks about it because it carries such a prestige, and there's a lot of people that have built that program for a lot of years that that came before me, and then there's a lot of guys that continue on the legacy after, and so people want to know about it. It's especially other places I've been and lived, and I always come back to the best part about it was the people, and it was Coach Ladd and Coach Edson and Coach P and all those guys that were there building that type of team and culture that's it's been sustainable for the better part of half a century, I think, at this point. So it's incredible, really. I mean, being in the coaching profession and seeing how they've been able to build that and sustain it and continue that culture on, and to have a head coaching change with Coach Allenbaugh jumping in there and keeping the ship running the same direction it's always been. So it's really a testament to them, and I really do. It's kind of the biggest fundamental, probably one of the most influential periods of my life when it comes to coaching. I draw back on the lessons that they talked about all the time with Coach P and Coach Ladd and Coach Edson. Those things are all pretty common themes in success, and so it's been fun to look back now, being in a elevated position, and just see how little football changes. The money changes and the tempo changes and all that stuff, but the fundamentals of football don't change, especially when you're talking about leading young men. And so Coach P and those guys, I reference back to them all the time. I actually have one of the copies of Coach Ladd's book sitting at my desk at work, just to every now and again I just flip through it just to remind myself. I think it's a good reminder of all the things that were taught there and all the things that you try to live as a person and a coach too. So I'm proud. I'm very proud to be a De La Salle alumni.
No, that is neat, and it's just how it worked out. You lived everywhere, and it just happened that's where the high school was. And I'm trying to think. I lost my train of thought here. The lessons you learned. That's probably why you're a coach now. Is that correct?
Yeah. There's a large part of that. I actually started, my first coaching job. I played at UCLA. I walked on because I wanted to keep playing football, and I had a chance to go down there and walk on. I knew it was a great experience for me, and I knew my football career wasn't going to go much past that. I was pretty much maxed out where I was going to end up probably ever playing football, and so I started looking at what I wanted to do, and so I was a graduate assistant there. I went to grad school at UCLA and was a graduate assistant, and then my first job was for Patrick Walsh at Sarah High School. And so another obviously great Spartan and a guy who's built a really, really strong program in his own right. And, just to be able to, be around those types of people early in my career, and then early as a young player, I kind of found the joy in coaching and the joy in being able to develop. And I would say coaching high school football with Patrick at Sarah for 2 years was really some of the most fun I've ever had coaching. And I've had a lot of really cool experiences, but man, coaching those kids, those freshmen and sophomores in high school was really, really enjoyable. And so a lot of the seeds of that kind of trying to be a mentor for young people and coach football and use it as a vehicle was really probably ingrained in me at De La Salle.
Absolutely. No, the other thing I was thinking, you had, when you were hired by the Bengals, you had the experience with the Broncos, the Lions, and the Raiders. But did it help that it said offensive coordinator, Sarah High School? I'm joking. Did that help you become an offensive coordinator? You had experience.
I had experience. That's right. It's nobody cares where you get it. I had experience I was a freshman offensive coordinator, and I was a varsity offensive coordinator. So yeah, I was got lots of experience calling plays. A little bit different now than it was then, but yeah, I'm sure it did.
Yeah, no, but being in the league, with Peyton Manning in Denver, and then again it'd be Stafford and
Yeah.
then Derek Carr, and now you had the guy Andy Dalton, and
Yep.
you've had some quality quarterbacks. I mean,
I've been really fortunate. There's a lot of guys that go their whole careers without being around those types of players, and as a coach, and so to be able to be around those guys, I've been very, very fortunate. They've made me a better coach. I hope to some degree I help them become better players. But really, those guys, they're so talented and they're such good players. I've been Peyton Manning. Spending 4 years with him in Denver was incredible. You want to talk about learning like a PhD in quarterback play. You just one of the greatest to ever do it. I learned quite a bit from him. And obviously being around Matthew, I think is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I know he gets a little bit maligned nationally occasionally because of the lack of playoff success and all that. But man, he's a special player and he's a special person. He was a joy to be around. I was disappointed that my time there wasn't longer than it was. And the same thing with Derek. When you get to be around guys that are great men and great leaders and really good football players on top of it, it brings a lot of joy to coaching. You walk in the building every day excited. And Andy was no different. I mean, I've been fortunate to be around really veteran quarterbacks. I mean, Peyton, I got Peyton in years 14 through 18. I got Stafford in years 9 and 10. Derek was a little bit younger. I think he was going into 5 at that time, or 4 or 5. And then obviously Andy had been playing for about 10 years, and now I'm going to get to be around a rookie quarterback that just coming in. So got a lot of experience that I think with different types of players that have played a long time that'll really help kind of move along with Joe here. So it's really luck of the draw. You kind of get fortunate to be around great players, and as everybody knows, great players make great coaches, and so I'm very thankful to have been around those guys.
No, and it's neat. I think it also, yeah, it was with Santa Clara. So not only did you win the Super Bowl with the Denver, it was in the Bay. Well, I mean, that must have been a glorious time.
It was very special to me. It was unique. I never, it was Super Bowl 50. It was in California. It was a really cool experience. I got to see a bunch of the guys that are out there, obviously, in the little bit of free time I had. I know my kids actually went to Patrick's house for the game. He babysat my kids during that time, and he had us all over, me and all my family over at Patrick's house because he was right there in San Mateo, and I really hadn't left all that long ago. So that was really cool. It was special. It was really special. I can't think of a better place to have been able to win a Super Bowl. I mean, winning Super Bowls are special no matter what because they're really hard to do, really hard to get to, really hard to win. But to get a chance to do that in a place that I call home, it was pretty unique and pretty cool. I'm never going to forget that. That's for sure.
I just thought of something. Your offense, but T.J. Ward was there. Did you have any interaction with him? Because he's got. He's got a good personality.
Oh yeah, yeah. TJ was great. He was a great player for us in Denver. He had a very nice NFL career. He was a big reason that we kind of got over the hump. We went to the Super Bowl 2 years prior and got beat pretty bad by the Seahawks in New York. And then, kind of got a disappointing ouster the next year in 2014 against the Colts, who had number 1 seed at home in the divisional round. We lose that game, and it was really, pretty dejected after that one. We had a really good team and thought we had a chance to go back again. And then so to be able to do it, and after we signed a bunch of free agents, TJ being one of them in Denver that year on defense, and he was a catalyst as to kind of making that defense one of the better defenses that's ever played. They were exceptional, and he was a large part of that. And it was kind of fun because I knew what we were getting. I knew the kind of player and person and leader that we were going to get when TJ signed on, and I knew that would be one of the biggest helps to us to get over the hump, and certainly it did. And he made plays in the Super Bowl. He made it long. That I knew kind of in high school before him, and his dad was coaching when I was there too. So I'd run into his dad every now and again after games and stuff. So that's kind of fun, just a little slice of home for a minute there.
And he's one of the last amigos.
That's right.
Seriously, no.
I know he is.
He's part of that. He's part of that lineage, and
yes,
so yeah. You guys didn't even know that. We're getting an amigo. I'm trying to think what else. No, it's just all these connections, and I think a connection for you. Zach Taylor. when your
Yeah.
dad was at Nebraska, he was the quarterback. Did you meet him
Yes.
back then? You're about the same age.
Yeah. We're we're the same. We're the same age, roughly. He's maybe a year older, but I think grade wise we were the same. And so I met Zach when he was playing there because I was still playing in college, and so he's we were kind of peers at that point still in college football, and he had a lot. He played really well for my dad. He took him to the Big 12 championship. He was the Big 12 Player of the Year. He was really good college quarterback. He didn't do much in the NFL. He'll probably tell you he's played a little bit of Canadian football for a second, but coaching was always going to be probably his answer. And he's had a hell of a career so far. He's a great head coach. I love working for him. Him and I, like I said, we've known each other for a long time. We've been friends for a long time. And he was always a guy over the years that I would talk to. He was kind of a sounding board for me and I was for him as far as just talking about the league and things that were happening scheme-wise and offensive-wise. And he was somebody I always had leaned on. And so when an opportunity got presented to work together, it was a no-brainer. I was excited about it. And I'm really excited about the direction he's got us headed as a leader, as an offensive mind. He's outstanding.
Absolutely. But he must also believe in you because you or the defensive coordinator would have been his first hire. I mean, when did the opportunity, like last January, when did it come?
Yeah, it was, he had called me as he was getting ready to interview for he interviewed for 3 jobs. He interviewed in Denver, Arizona, and Cincinnati. And he had always said the Cincinnati job was the one that he wanted if he could get it. He had spent a year there as offensive coordinator at University of Cincinnati 2 years prior. So he knew the city, knew what it was all about, and felt like it was a great place for him to put his family and raise his family and build a program. And so he called me probably, late in the process, probably after his interview, probably right before his interviews started, and saying that if he got one of the jobs, he would like me to come with him and be the coordinator. And I said, yeah, if you just tell me when and I'll be there. And so the Cincinnati thing kind of worked out, and he kind of had to hold on to it for a while because nothing was official, obviously, until after the Super Bowl that he played in with the Rams. And so I had to kind of wait and hang tight until it all became official, and then and away we went.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So you would have gone wherever if it was one of those other cities. So and then but Cincinnati, I've looked at it. You got it's right there on the Ohio.
Yeah,
you can go south and be in Kentucky. What's Cincinnati like? It looks like an interesting place.
it's a great city. I've loved living there. People are awesome. Kind of traditional, a little bit Midwestern city in that sense, where it's there's a pretty good connection amongst the people that live there. There's a lot of people that are very proud to be from there. It's like Detroit. It was kind of like that, where a lot of people are very proud to come those places. Cool. Feel that. Great place to live, easy living. It's not a huge city, so it's not real hard to get around. But there's a lot of things to do. They got great stuff for the kids to do, and they got great. We love the people that we live around, and the fan base in Cincinnati is outstanding. They love the Bengals, and they're hungry for a winner, and that's what we're trying to bring them. So it's and it's pretty unique. I mean, you cross the river and you're in Kentucky, and you're an hour from Lexington, or you're out pretty quick.
No, and also what I'm thinking, yeah, it is. It's like a sleeping giant, and also people don't realize the Bengals have been down, but I meant they were in the playoffs a lot with Marvin Lewis. And then I remember I'm older than you. I remember the 49ers' first Super Bowl in Detroit, the goal line stand. That was against the Bengals. And then you would have been a little kid when Joe Montana to John Taylor. So there's a history, Ickey Woods, and so, and being in, I think it's the NFC or AFC North, I mean, this is so much history when you play the Steelers, the Browns, and the Ravens. I mean, that's a great league.
It's a fun division. It's tough. It's a hard division.
Yes.
It's physical. They're good teams. Baltimore's incredible. Pittsburgh has been one of the best teams in the NFL for decades. Cleveland's up and coming. And so it's there's some good teams. And the Bengals have had a lot of success. I was always very kind of confused over this last offseason. They get this national narrative about what a terrible place it is. And I never understood that, even being there. I guess that Mike Brown, our owner, has a reputation for some reason, but they've been outstanding since we've been there. They've given us everything we've needed and asked for to try to get this thing turned around. And their history is pretty rich. Just, has been a while since they won a playoff game, which has always been it's kind of the crux. But over the course of their history, they've had great players. They've been to Super Bowls. They've won games. They've won the division. It's a proud program. And I think what's really cool about Cincinnati is, Cincinnati and Ohio in general, they love football. And you look at the prep scene in Cincinnati is outstanding, with Moeller. St. Xavier, prep football in Ohio is a big deal. So football is part of the culture in Ohio. So it's kind of fun to see that. And I know everybody loves a winner. So when you get a chance to win some games, people respond. They'll come. The fan base will show its true colors when it's, when you're playing for something. It's hard to root for a team that goes 2-14. I don't blame them for that. But we're trying to change that.
No, but also the history goes all the way back to Paul Brown. After he was retired from the Browns, he was sitting in La Jolla and got bored. And this goes back to the AFL. It was an AFL expansion team, and he did it. And he was the first coach. And it said, the long history. I remember Forrest Gregg, Sam Weish.
Bill Walsh.
Exactly. Bill Walsh. People don't know about this. Before the 49ers, Bill Walsh was Paul Brown's assistant. And he thought he'd be the head coach. And when he wasn't, he had to go to San Diego, Stanford, and it changed history. The West Coast offense started in Cincinnati. Yeah.
It did. It absolutely did. And it's been fun because being around, Mr. Brown is 80 plus years old now, and he's seen every bit of the history of the National Football League pretty much from its inception. So he's like a walking encyclopedia of how the league's evolved, and he's got so much knowledge. And his dad was obviously considered one of the greatest innovators in pro football. I mean, he was the one that made the modern game what it is today. A lot of the things that he did changed the course of pro football. And, he's Mr. Brown was there for all of that. And it's been really, really cool to sit and talk to him. He's got so many great insights into what the league is and how it became and where it's headed. And it's been, you don't get a chance to see living history, talk to somebody who's lived history the way he has. And so it's been fun to hear those stories and hear him explain how things kind of came to be.
And then I'm trying to think, as you said, you met Joe Burrow once. It's all Zooms. I mean, it's going to be his team. Oh, will it be his team right away? I mean, it's very – does he look good on Zoom right now?
Yeah, he looks great on Zoom. Yeah, it'll be his team from the get-go.
Okay.
We drafted him. We drafted him number 1 overall to play. And, there's not a whole lot that's going to stand in the way of that. And we got 2 really good other young quarterbacks, Jake Dolegala and Ryan Finley, in our room. That Ryan we drafted in the 4th round last year. So we feel really good about a really young room that's going to develop. And Joe's been great. He takes command. He's extremely intelligent. He studies. He works at it. His gaining of knowledge over the course of this offseason has been great. Now we just got to go practice.
Yeah, exactly. No, because that's I'm thinking you got Ross, you got Boyd. What about is AJ Green? Does he look healthy on Zoom?
Yeah, he's been 100% cleared to go. So he was close to 100% as the season ended last year, and so we weren't really too worried about where he'd end up. So he's cleared and ready to roll, and I'm really excited about the group of players we have at receiver. AJ Green, John Ross, Tyler Boyd, who's one of the best slot receivers in football. Drafted T. Higgins at the top of the 2nd round from Clemson. Really, really exciting, big-bodied, large catch radius receiver. And a guy that played really well for us last year was Auden Tate, and he came in. He's a big body guy, 6'5", really huge catch radius. Made some real big circus catches over the course of the season. And then you had John Ross's speed in there. It was a 1st round pick 5 years ago. So we got some good looking receivers and guys to throw to. And then you put Joe Mixon and Gio Bernard in the backfield, and you have the makings of potentially a fun unit. And so. On paper, it looks good. We still got to go do it. There's no substitute for going out and playing, but we feel really good about that group.
I just thought of something. I play fantasy football and love it. You play fantasy football for real. I mean,
yeah.
You're living the dream here.
Yeah, it's not as glamorous, I don't think, as some people think it might be. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of hours and a lot of sacrifice away from your family and things that you normally would get to do. So, it's for 6 months of the year. It's 7 days a week. 80, 100 hours a week. And it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. I do enjoy it. I enjoy the preparation. I enjoy the pressure. I enjoy the challenge. And it's a unique spot to be in. I mean, there's only 32 of these jobs in the world, and I get a chance to do it and try to do it well. And so everybody sees the Sundays, and those are fun. Sundays are the best part. But all the work that goes on during the week, that's what really I enjoy, getting together with the staff and coming up with a game plan, and then getting to implement it, and then trying to get everything in line so we can put our players in the best position to go win. And so it's a blast. It really is. It's fun. There's not much else I could think of that I'd rather do.
I just thought, when is the game plan implemented? Like Tuesday or Wednesday night for the practice? When do you come up with the game plan?
It starts after the players leave the building on Mondays, usually in the late afternoon. We kind of start the next opponent. So we'll have a couple meetings on Monday night about just some introduction stuff, just who are playing, what the players are, what their situation is injury-wise, and a bunch of different kind of introductory stuff. And then we just kind of sit and watch film and start getting everything together. So first and second down game plan. The run game usually starts on Tuesday mid-morning or so, and put the run game together. And then we build a play action and naked game off of that in the afternoon. And then we put the drop back pass game on first, second down in. And then we usually start the third down installation. So the players will come in Wednesday. We'll introduce the base game plan, a first, second down game plan, and then a little bit of the third down introduction after practice in the afternoon. And then you hit the rest of the third down the next day. You start the red zone, and then you get in all your situational stuff. So short yardage and goal line and 4 minute and 2 minute. And then, by Friday it's pretty finalized. Every now and again, you might add something on a Saturday morning, but for the most part, the game plan is finalized by, I would say, Friday afternoon. And then, you just review it for the next 48 hours until you play on Sunday.
No, I mean, that's it. It's all the time. And that's what the players usually have the Tuesday off. So that's why by Wednesday, you have to be up and running. And you worked hard with the Raiders. Are you now working more hours with the Bengals, or just more responsibility, or both?
No, just probably a little bit more responsibility in terms of just kind of making sure the whole picture is tied together. Zach and I work really closely to get all these things, as the game plan evolves over the course of the week. You got a lot of guys, and we have a great staff and guys that have their responsibilities and their areas that they have to be accountable for. And so we all work really well together and putting the plan in place. So it's not that the hours have changed for me by any stretch. It's just the nature of what I do on a day-to-day basis is a little bit different than I did as a quarterback coach in Oakland. So, not different timing or not more work, just different work.
And another thing I was thinking about, and at Oakland, you could be anonymous. As you're walking off the practice field in Alameda, the only guy that would come up and talk to you would be me. And you could walk straight. You see, exactly. You love the job, but you could just be anonymous, go right to the locker room. Now, I think it's once a week when the thing opens up, they're going to put you in front of the thing that says Bengals, and people are going to ask you questions, and which is good. Go ahead.
It is good. The media thing that was new for me last year, having to get up in front of those guys. But I'll say our local media has been ending. They're fair, and they're easy to talk to, and they do it the right way. They do their job the way they're supposed to, and you realize that they got a job to do. I have a job to do, and you try to treat them with respect and give them information that they can use to write and do their jobs, and you kind of help them do their job, and they try to help. And so the relationship was a new thing for me. I had not done that before, but it went well.
Exactly. No, they might be a little tougher than me. I'm not sure, but what's it like? I mean, have people ask you questions about your job, because you never got that as a quarterback coach. Very rarely, people want to question your game plan. That's very strange.
Yeah, that part was different when you're talking about questioning what happens in a game and what happens with players. It's a unique spot to get put in, and you try to answer as honestly as you can. I try not to lie to those guys or coach speak, because I know they got a job to do, and but I'm always going to protect the interest of our team over anything else. I don't give away information that would be put us at a disadvantage by any stretch, but I try to be kind of straightforward and honest and answer the questions the way that they kind of happened. And so when you get asked about play calls and such, or situations that go poorly. You just try to be pretty straightforward and give a reason for why. And sometimes the reasoning isn't public knowledge, and it doesn't need to be. And so you just kind of take the question and answer it the best you can without giving too much away. So that part was interesting to be able, and then to be in a 2-14 season where nothing's really going well. That's why you're 2-14.
Right.
And so to have to go face that music every week was unique. I'd never done it before, and it's a challenge. It's not easy. No one likes to be criticized or second guessed or anything like that. But it's part of the job. It's part of the description. You got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm thinking, what about family wise? I think, did you marry your wife in Denver, and then you've taken her to Detroit, Oakland,
Yep.
and now Cincinnati? So I guess she knew what she signed up for, but she also got a Super Bowl with it too.
Yeah, she had been in Denver for a long time, and I had told her from the get-go, I was like, this is a different lifestyle, that you're going to enter into. It's one that's very, I think the direct quote I told her was, it's never boring. You're never going to be bored. You're never going to be stuck in one place and yearning for adventure. There's plenty of that. It comes with the territory. So I don't think she really knew until we won the Super Bowl, which was a lot of fun. And then about 3 days after the Super Bowl, I was in Detroit. I just got the job there. So it happened really fast. And, she'd been in Denver for, I think, 13 years total. She went to Colorado Boulder. And so all of a sudden she just gets ripped out of her place that she, had been for a long time. And we moved to Detroit. We were there for 2 years, and we moved to Oakland. We were there for a year, and we moved to Cincinnati. So we crossed the country about 3 times in like 18 months. It felt like moving houses and everything. So it comes with its challenges. I'm not going to say it was easy on her. I'm not going to say she enjoys every time we got to go move somewhere. And hopefully we're in Cincinnati for quite a while. And that's our goal is to build a good program that we can have some success and stay a while and kind of enjoy living there.
Well, so it's up to you, Zach Taylor, and the players. That's right. That's as long as you can stay, Yeah. And then what about your kids? Or I forget their ages. So I've seen them at the family day up at Napa.
Yeah.
Are they old enough now on Sundays to know what's going on?
No, not quite. My daughter's going to be turning 5 here in July, and my son turns 3 in August. And so my daughter's just starting to understand. Zach's really good with families, and so I get a chance to go. I don't miss anything from them. And then every Monday night he'd have all the families come in to work, and we'd have a little pizza party with for an hour. We'd take an hour, eat dinner with the families, and they'd all come into the building. And so my daughter really started to enjoy that. She got to go run around and come to the stadium, and it was a big deal. So she gets it a little bit. She went to her first game last year. I don't know that she watched a second of it, but she really is getting to the point where she understands what I do a little bit. And she understands that I coach football, and she knows who the Bengals are, but she'd rather go color and talk about Disney movies than what I do. So
right, I got you. No, but that is neat. On the Mondays, as you guys are putting that game plan in, you break away for an hour, just for some normalcy. I mean, I mean that must be really probably the best hour of that day.
It's awesome because I mean, really, if I don't see him on Monday night, the chances of me seeing him awake usually probably isn't until probably Friday afternoon. Because they're in bed by 8 o'clock, and I'm usually not home until well after that. So Monday night's kind of nice. It's just a nice break. You get a chance to spend some time and play, and they like to draw on my whiteboard and run around the office. And we got a young staff, so there's a lot of families and a lot of families that have kids in the same age range, and they all get to go run and play. And it kind of builds a little bit of a family atmosphere in that sense, where everyone you get to know everybody's wives and kids, which is good. I think it's all a part of building the right kind of program.
Absolutely, but that's a good now. It's actually the truth. Whereas you said, if you didn't see them on Monday, you're not going to see them till Friday. And I mean, that's if anybody wants to know all the hours you put in, that's right there. I mean, and then what about? Do you live close to is it all self-contained? Is the training and the facility next to the stadium? How close do you live to it?
Yeah, we live about 12 minutes away, which is the closest commute I've had in a while. We lived about 30 minutes in Detroit. We lived about 30 minutes or so in Oakland. I lived out in Pleasanton when I was commuting Alameda. So I've had some pretty long commutes as of late, but now we're a lot closer. We're about, I don't know, I'm probably 10 to 12 minutes from downtown, which is where our stadium is, and everything that we do is at our stadium. So it's really convenient. It's really easy, and that part of it I've really enjoyed because I don't spend an hour plus a day in my car driving to and from. I'm home quick, and I can, if I can go to, my daughter has a play to go to in the off season. I can get there and back pretty easily without having to worry about too much. Traffic's not too bad.
And the less time you're in a car, the less time you have to listen to talk radio, which is a good thing. And I'm trying
I don't listen to talk radio.
You don't? See, I don't either.
No.
There's nothing good on talk radio. Just people yelling and complaining. Exactly. Do you listen to rock and roll? What do you listen to? Uh-oh. We may be frozen.
Ooh, I listen to everything. Depending on the. Yeah. Am I frozen still?
No, you're back. We're talking about rock. We're talking about music.
Yeah. I listen to stuff from classic rock to all these players listen to all the new rap stuff, so I always get that from them. And I listen to. There's no music I don't listen to.
All right. And I'm thinking also, did you hire Nick Holtz? Is he with you?
No, Nick's in Oakland.
Oh, he's still in Oakland. Okay, I'm confused.
Yeah,
he's still in Oakland.
Or Las Vegas now, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. They're in limbo. Yeah, they exactly. And maybe go back. I'm trying to think how we wrap up. There's just so much. Maybe I just give you the final word, maybe, or is there anything you'd like to add? I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I know that when you reached out to me, I'd already watched a couple of those. I'd come across them on Facebook and stuff, and then I spoke to some of the seniors a week or two ago for Deal South. Paul Grania reached out to me and asked if I would jump on a Zoom with them for those the seniors, just to have something to talk about. So me and Nick Holtz and Tosh Lupoy and a couple other guys that played jumped on there, and it was cool. And then you actually reached out to me, and I thought, wow, what a after watching the Amigos get on there and talk, it was kind of fun. I figured maybe some other alumni are watching, and it'd be fun for them to see me. Haven't seen me in a long time, so it was neat. I appreciate you reaching out.
That makes me feel good because you're busy. And in fact, you could be with your family. You're in upstate New York, and you took the time. And the other thing I just remembered, when I would come out to Alameda, you would ask me, you guys would be getting ready for who you're ever getting ready for me, and you'd ask me about Folsom. You'd ask me what the LaSalle's doing, so it continues. Yeah. And no, I'll just, as I said, I'll pick my spots. We can do more, but I'm just thrilled that I'm able to talk to you, that this is fun, and to tell people, so today will be a little Bengals work, but family time. How are you going to spend this day?
I worked pretty much all morning. Obviously I'm on East Coast time, so it's 1:45 here. We worked most of the morning until about lunchtime because it's Friday, so we didn't have the players today. And then I'll be out. It's a nice day out here in upstate New York, so I'll be outside playing with the kids.
All right. Well, in fact, let me stop talking so you can do that. I'll stop the stream. I'll just talk to you for like one moment afterwards. But I just thank you again, Brian. It's been wonderful.
Sure.